Welcome to the Low Carb Athlete Podcast, where we focus on discussing topics to help you burn fat, optimize health, and improve performance in life and sports. Transform the whole you from the inside out with the holistic method. Let's dive in. Here's your host, Debbie Potts.
Hey everyone, I'm so excited to have Dr. Wahls on my show today. It's quite an honor. And she is someone you hopefully know of and are following, the Wahls Protocol. And she's got an amazing story that I will post the links into the show notes and the videos she has on what she's done to recover, heal from MS, and be able to walk from being stuck in a wheelchair. But she's also done so much more, and she's really helping us get top of the science behind the coronavirus and how we can really improve our immune system. So there's no cure for the coronavirus right now, but there are solutions on what you can do to improve your immune system. And that is a choice. And my whole focus right now is kind of my passion and drive every day is to bring you guests on my podcasts and putting them on YouTube and doing solo podcasts almost every day, as well as researching, writing, blogging, and posting on my Low Carb Athlete Facebook page, that we really need to take ownership of our health. Right now is when we have a choice to build our immune system resiliency, and staying at home, staying healthy is really confusing, I think, and there's not enough specific details to what that means to be healthy. And so that's what I'm trying to do. If you could help me spread this message out, share this video with Dr. Wahls, share the other videos I've had with other doctors and specialists in the industry, because you're going to get coronavirus or be around it eventually. Are you strong enough in your immune system, which means your gut health, your self-defense, your first line of defense? Is it strong enough? Is your army ready and to take on this battle? You have ability right now to improve that immune system, get your defense teams strong, like you're training them to go to war. You need to get them ready for the battlefield. That's how you're going to survive and overcome the coronavirus, in my opinion. You know, we cannot take all these supplements, but they don't work if you have poor digestion, poor gut health, and you have these hidden internal stresses I keep talking about. So Dr. Wahls is going to give us a ton of information. The problem is that we had bad Wi-Fi reception on her side, so it was really challenging to hear what she said because it was in and out, and she tried to get everyone in her household off their electronic devices because the Wi-Fi signal was low. But it was 7:00 p.m. her time, so I think everyone is on Wi-Fi. So sadly, we didn't get all information. So what I did, I asked the questions in an email, and she wrote out her responses. I will put these in the show notes. But just to give you a heads up on the questions and answers now, and then maybe when she's talking, you'll kind of fill in the gaps when the Wi-Fi was in and out, because it was like every other word. So it might be a little annoying to listen to, but you still need to listen to it. It's just pretty amazing. So one of the questions was, what are the key parts of a dietary and lifestyle plan you are using in your Wahls clinics? She does modified paleo, the Wahls Paleo, eliminate gluten, casein, eggs, stress on more vegetables is what she's known for, 3 cups of leafy greens a day, 3 cups of sulfur-rich cabbage family, onion family, mushroom family a day, and 3 cups of deeply colored vegetables as beets, carrots, and berries, plus protein, 6 to 12 ounces, meat, legumes and gluten-free grains if vegetarian, organ meat, she's a big fan of liver, and fermented vegetables as sauerkraut. She has a book called The Wahls Protocol, and she has a new revision that's coming out called The Radical New Way to Treat All Chronic Autoimmune Conditions Using Paleo Principles. And in the new revision, she has extra details on histamines, oxalates, FODMAPs, who needs the elimination diet and who does not, more variations on the ketogenic diet, way of eating, more information on neurodegeneration, and neurorehabilitation. A supplement chapter has been updated, and she has more science on behavior changes and growing out motivation to do the work. Because all of this changes we talk about, lifestyle habits, as reducing stressors and doing less exercise when we're under stress already, takes commitment and motivation and drive. And also, you have to see the light in the end of the tunnel to understand the why you need to follow certain health practices to get yourself better, stronger, physically and mentally, as well as improve your defense team in your body, in your gut. So the next question, what are 3 things that our listeners could do right now? We talked about this. Eliminate or reduce added sugar, white flour, and flour-based foods. As you probably know or already do or are trying to do, really important right now to be healthy is to avoid that sugar, white flour. And think of Vinnie Tordich's NSNG, no sugar, no grains, is what I like to tell people to do. It's kind of easier mentally. Also replace eat more vegetables, eat more greens, add more sauerkraut and kimchi to the diet. Can you talk about fasting in the ketogenic diet? Dr. Wahls says our ancestors were regularly in ketosis on the basis of endurance exercise required to hunt and gather our foods. Then we prepared our food. We had several days in the rested and fed state, and then we were back to hunting and gathering, which depleted our glycogen stores and put us naturally into ketosis. We would also be in ketosis on the basis with no food due to drought, famine, war, or the wintertime. If the hunt was good and we had meat, if the hunt was not good, we survived on our stored body fat. In the past 100 years, we've been using the ketogenic eating for treating epilepsy. Now, also studied for other neurological, psychological diseases, insulin resistance, and cancer. No societies, she notes, has existed that are straight, full-on ketosis at all the times. So take that note that people that are trying to do ketosis 24/7, that is not natural, and that's not part of our ancestral way. They were in and out of it. So that's what we talk a lot in other shows about cyclical keto, like I tend to do without intention, like the 5-2 plan, that keto more during weekdays, Sunday to Friday, then Friday night, Saturday night, have a little bit more carbohydrates and have that rotation, just because dining out or making a dinner and having more on the weekends. What else does she say? So take us through a typical day of what we should be doing for self-care during the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. As we talk about on every show lately, the holistic method 8 elements are really what I keep promoting as self-care and creating that awareness that it's a choice to take care of the whole you from the inside out with my 8 elements. And so Dr. Wahls says the same thing. Make sure you have enough sleep, good quality sleep, restful sleep, sleeping through the night, 7 to 9 hours a night. Stress reducing practice, adding gratitude, as I keep talking about, a journal. At night, I write in what I'm grateful for that day. She talks about prayer, meditation, mindfulness, even doing Epsom salt baths help that magnesium. Maybe put some essential lavender oil in your bath, or as I put it on my pillows, some relaxing essential oils helps massages, self-massage. Also eliminating sugar, of course, and added sugars. She would not do ketogenic diet, and she would not suggest doing high endurance sports, as you would likely get into ketosis as a marathon or 2 to 3 hours of training or more, as those generate more inflammation and can increase the risk of cytokine storm, she will explain. You guys listen to that? Avoid excess cardio and being strict keto right now. And also we talked about extended fasting. Too much stress in the body. You don't want to increase cortisol and increase inflammation in the body that will lead to signaling the body to potentially create a cytokine response and have too much and create this, what's called, if you've been reading about the cytokine storm. Instead, Dr. Wahls suggests gentle to moderate exercise, as I've been trying to do myself, running 30 minutes to 45 minutes, walk instead of running. Don't do speed work and don't do like 2-3 hour runs, easy bike rides. I've been doing yoga and trying to do it more often because I realize I'm not very good at it. I'm so tight on my right hip and quads are not, it's amazing how weak I feel, but do more yoga and walking morning, afternoon, and evening if I don't bike or run in the evening. So Dr. Wahls suggests that, just easier workouts. And she also says switch to low glycemic index diet, no starchy vegetables, non-starchy vegetables, cook food. Think about chlorella risk in a developing country. She talks about sauerkraut. The fermentation makes it more acidic and reduces the risk of virus. Also, I actually had this yesterday, deeply pigmented beets, onions, garlic, cabbage family, and other good protein sources. I did have beets with goat cheese and olive oil and a little arugula and with a steak with some butter. That was good yesterday. All right, number 6, what other lifestyle habits would we implement? We went over that. And number 7, how would this impact longevity and aging in the coronavirus? So Dr. Wahls talks about in our show today, the strategies associated with lengthening your telomeres helps with longevity, and biological youthening of the cells, youthening of the person. We see people looking and feeling younger the longer that they are on the protocol, the Wahls Protocol. Blood pressure is better, their blood sugar is better, mood and love life is better. And number 8, the microbiome is an exciting area of research. How does your program, the Wahls Protocol, impact our microbiome as well as coronavirus? Dr. Wahls said that the microbiome speaks into our immune cells. Sugar, simple starches feed the wrong bacteria in the gut and increase inflammation. The Wahls Protocol diet plans have more fiber. Obviously, if you hear the first part of all those vegetables, have more fiber and soluble fiber that feed the health-promoting bacteria, so prebiotics, which are associated with improved immune function. This, Dr. Wahls says, will help lower, what she talks about in the podcast today, the NF-kappa B levels to normal, which decrease the probability of the cytokine storm. So that's a big word you're going to hear a lot about with the coronavirus, is this cytokine storm. If the person has an overactivated NF-kappa B from sugar, rich white flour diet, not enough sleep, excess stress hormone level, then the NF-kappa B is more likely to activated, significantly increasing the risk of the COVID-19 infection, causing the cytokine storm, pneumonia, and need for hospital care. So remember not to overactivate NF-kappa, NF-kappa B. So all the people, I know it's not you, but think of all those people that went to the grocery stores to stock up on food as if they couldn't go to the grocery store and couldn't do any fasting for the next month or two. They bought all this processed foods filled with vegetable oils, canola oil, bad processed additives, and of course, sugar. So we have to make sure, eating real food that's nutrient dense right now is even more of a priority, necessity. Okay, we talk about children and getting family onto the Wahls Protocol and the lifestyle changes and how we can stay healthy and resilient with the coronavirus. Dr. Wahls says, embrace the changes yourself. Do these changes as a family. Remove the foods from eating environment that you wish to eliminate. Plan your meals together, cook together, get the whole family involved, preparing the meals, cleaning up, add gratitude practice, mindful practice as a family, and talk about why you are doing things. United front as adults will greatly assist. And I think this is important as you are staying at home, stuck at home, you're with your family. It's time, if you have kids, to get them involved in cooking and having that experience together and make it more a positive experience and have them understand food and how food is made. Last two questions, discussing inflammation and mitochondria function, my big question I ask everybody, and how is this related to the coronavirus? Okay, so if you listened to Dr. Myhill's show the other day, you can learn a lot mitochondria, as well as Dr. Wahls talks a lot about mitochondria. Mitochondria convert the food energy to the chemical energy that is needed to run needed for the cells to run the chemistry of life. During infection, the immune cells are very active, making compounds to fight the virus, the coronavirus, or any virus. It is energy intensive, mineral intensive, nutrient intensive to be able to respond quickly. This is where good nutrition is so helpful. Self-care is helpful and essential to keep the stress hormones and NF-kappa pathways functioning appropriately. We need the nutrients right now from the food we eat to get the building blocks to help all of our processes in our body at cellular level to work right. I'm saying this, not Dr. Wahls. So it's important to eat real food, but as I keep telling you, to make sure you're eating, sitting down, you're relaxed, you're focused on what you're eating, you're tasting your food, you're enjoying the food, you're chewing your food before you swallow, you're not multitasking. You'll shut off the digestive process right there and start having digestive issues because of the way you eat. So stop, slow down, focus. Don't be driving your car, walking, doing other things. Sit and have a meal at the table. All right, last questions. How do you make this affordable? The Wahls Protocol, eating all those vegetables and meats. Dr. Wahls talks about the key is learning how to cook using ingredients, vegetables, meats. If you're vegetarian, having the legumes and gluten-free grains. Avoid processed foods. She runs cooking classes to teach people how to cook, how to meal plan, how to shop, prepare menus. These basic skills make all the difference in the world. So you can find all the links on the show notes for the Wahls Protocol in her book and going into that a little bit deeper. But just remember, I had to talk to you for 20 minutes here because the podcast we did recording on her Wi-Fi signal was really low. So I apologize, but enjoy the show and please let us know if you have questions. I can ask Dr. Wahls anything else you didn't get enough of. So be in touch, share this information with your friends and family, and help me spread the message about the importance of self-care with the holistic method. It is a choice. Health is a choice, And this is how you improve your immune system, your resiliency to fight coronavirus and other viruses. Thank you for listening, and here's Dr. Wahls. All right, everyone. I am so excited and honored to have Dr. Terry Wahls on my podcast today to help you get healthy on the inside and out. And as I keep talking about every episode, is how important it is to work on the health of your gut. And if you want to be healthy and improve your immune system and build your resiliency, we want to work on all these different elements to be healthy inside and out. So Dr. Wahls, thank you for coming on the show today. I just was doing your bio in the intro before you came on the show, and you're just kind of in the thick of the COVID-19 research and really helping the whole world learn more with your blogs and videos. So I thank you for making time for us today.
Yeah, at this point, I'm getting updated. Initially, it was every day. Now, university, the COVID-19 work group. I'm that research. I'm looking at the research. So it's several hours a day reviewing the papers. I'm thinking about what we do from a conventional perspective, what can we do from the integrative functional medicine perspective, what's under control and what's not under our control.
Yeah, it really ties into your information that you speak about at our conferences and around the world about the Wahls Protocol and really how to optimize health from your perspective and your background. We'll put all the links in the show notes because that's multiple episodes to talk about all the amazing things you've done and research. But let's kind of just, if we can start with explaining the cytokine storm, and then we'll talk about how to improve resiliency. I think that's confusing for people what health is and immunity and resiliency.
So I back up a little bit more to say, our immune cells are the cells that affect all the others. To say, are you healthy? Damaged cell begins releasing cells that will come in and will help eat up that cell with a healthy cell. Generally, a very controlled process. So we have cytokines that are released that attract other immune cells to come be part of this job. Then there are cytokines released that draw in, that will toxic compounds to help dissolve that. And then as you're rebuilding the parts of your body, and the inflammation job, the immune job is done because you've repaired, whether it's your skin, your muscles, your gut, then you secrete a set of cytokines that are the infection. Very complicated orchestra of cytokines as part of the inflammation that attacks the damaged cells, that attacks the viral particles, or attacks the bacteria, or clears out the chemically burned or heat burned, cold burned tissue, or the laceration that has to get repaired. And then when that repair is complete, or the viruses are obliterated, or the bacteria are obliterated, then the immune cells secrete a different set of cytokines that resolve the inflammation. And the problem with the cytokine storm, we have a pathway and activated virus. They're letting their immune brothers and sisters know to come in and be calling in the inflammatory compounds to help kill these viruses. And we know so far in this setting, if we already have the NF-kappa B pathway activated, that cytokine or P3 more uh,
Yeah.
process, and our immune cells are really critical for maintaining all of our cells. They're also protect when they encounter either evidence of an infection. They'll begin producing a number of molecule cytokines that recruit other immune cells to help in this either repair process or protecting. Repair is complete, or the infection has been controlled. Secrete a set of cytokines to bring the inflammation down to a nice resolution, get it quiet, and that perfectly normal. What we seem to be seeing with the COVID-19 problem is that as these immune cells get infected by viral particles, circumstances, we start producing called NRLP3, an inflammasome, which recruits other immune cells to come in and do their job. And if you also have an overactivated process called NF-kappa B, that inflammation extraordinarily aggressive. And we see a pouring of fluid into the lungs. What the person experiences is decreasing oxygen levels in their bloodstream, which they may or may not be aware of. Their heart rate will increase as the oxygen level goes down. Then they may begin to develop a cough. They may have some chest pain. They may begin to have air hunger as they get more blood oxygen. And then if they're short on blood oxygen, organs are also short on blood oxygen. And you can understand where you're having damage to your kidneys, damage to your liver, to your brain, damage to your, and yet failure. That is why people who are having COVID can end up in hospital, oxygen and more support, needing intensive care, and sometimes needing ventilators. And so I've been reading about this cytokine stuff, and reading what the integrative medicine, functional medicine folks have to say about, okay, what we do about this. Excuse me.
That's a big question, is what to do about it, because we're all, everyone around the world is curious. All right, we stay at home, we isolate, don't go around people.
Right.
But, how realistic is that for down the road? So I think, what you're saying.
There are two big messages I've been putting out to my tribe, to my staff, and to my family members, and everyone that I care about, is that there's two prongs. There's the prong of what we're doing to protect public health, and that's the slow transmission, because this transmissible disease. It's all restricting our behavior more and more, getting us to stay further apart from one another, and it's why many governments have said shelter in place or the close central are having put in curfews. The reason doing that is people, if this blows through your population very quickly and uncontrolled, it will, there'll be a huge demand of people who are very ill, end up needing intensive care units, needing ventilators, and we have many more sick people than we have hospital workers, physicians, nurses, rooms in the hospital, intensive care units, and so that dramatically increases mortality or death rates. And the present estimation is that maybe 15% of people who get this infection may need the hospital, and that 0.3 to 3% may need intensive care and may die. So that's a big range. It's 10 to 30 times more deadly than the influenza. And when we get the influenza, we aren't all getting it at once. We're getting it over a 5-month period, and so it's more gradually. As deadly. Is why to doing the solutions. Not really for me, but it's doing a lot for my. What we can do for ourselves is all care. We're trying to make you as healthy as possible. So the highest quality, and you can do that, you know, as a vegetarian, you can do it as a meat, or you could do it. There are dietary plans to the American diet. So choices there. Most are feeling or because this is a unfamiliar world that we're in. No one's been in this circumstance where we've had a pandemic, where governments are taking drastic action all across the globe. However your local government is doing, they are responding in some capacity, and we've never really seen, and it's at least in my I feel very uncomfortable when you can't predict the future. It adds to more anxiety. We often are experiencing sleep disruption, and that adds to the anxiety. So I talk a lot about the critical self-care. You know, in the email I sent out to my tribe today, I pointed out that self-diet and are the most powerful things that we have. This in my revised book that I just put out about the inflammasomes, the NR3, talk about NR3 and how diet and life can help calm and make in that period immune world.
Hold on, I'm
Say,
gonna.
So I have been talking in my articles and that put up the blog post on my website, very post. This is the have the best diet and self that you possibly. So I want people to get rid of this or non that we clinically. These are animal studies that things in the garlic family, the onion family, things in the cabbage family, deeply colored berries, fruits and vegetables. And they've shown these compounds will help normalize the NF-kappa B function. So it's not excessive, it's not driving that inflammasome. Again, in these animal model studies, we show that these phytonutrients, these plant compounds, also appear to suppress and turn back or normalize the inflammasome. That's the NRLP3 compound. And so, you know, that's the basis of my saying, ditch the processed foods, ditch the sugar, ditch the sweetened beverages, eat more, particularly the non-starchy vegetables, eat some berries. So that's key. I also mentioned, and I talk about the importance of sleep. Sleep deprivation, and several studies have shown that drives up the NRLP3, or those inflammasomes, and so that would make you more vulnerable to the cytokine storm. Stress, high cortisol levels, also drive up our inflammasome, so that makes us more vulnerable. And so that's, I think, a principle that we could apply on a public health basis, you know, to our tribe to say, stress-reducing practices according to what fits your spiritual needs and your emotional needs. It might be outside in the yard with your garden. It might be reading a book. It might be an Epsom salts bath, meditation, prayer. This, you know, video phone. But, you know, I should also say another thing that I talk a lot about is remaining connected socially, 6 feet apart, of course, but, you know, talking to people on the phone writing letters to them, doing a video call with them, so that we stay connected. Because we know that isolation and loneliness will also drive up our and will drive up our inflammasomes as well.
And that's so important right now. I think so many people are, doing their best to stay at home and be isolated and keeping that 6-foot difference between someone else. But it's these lifestyle habits I've talked about for years. And, in your book, the Wahls Protocol, and your new updates and all the research you're talking about, I feel like it's just the optimal time for people to take care of themselves now. When you are at home and you're not going places, this is a great time to catch up on your sleep and work on a sleep hygiene routine. Work on your meditation, work on yoga practice, or whatever you enjoy to do, to work on those stressors. And there's so much going out there that in our world that's constant, stress, because people keep looking at Facebook and looking at the news, and they're just constantly getting inundated with negative news. So it's really hard to, find that joy and happiness and make each day the best that you can in this worldwide situation.
It is hard. One of the things that I talk about in my revised edition is the science of behavior change, that our brains are wired to create and crave sugar, salt, fat, sex, of course. And so we have to eat and have sex, so we're going to have children. So it's critical that as a species we like those things. Our food companies are very skilled at knowing how to create products that address all of those needs, I suppose, except for the sex part. But they create cravings and addiction, and biologically much more difficult for us to give those up. So I talk about the science behind food addiction, food craving, food dependence, and that creating new habits requires a lot of work. It's biologically difficult. And so a big question I like to ask is, what do you want your health for? What is your mission in life? What are you, is there something you care so deeply about that burning home, without thinking, you would run into that home to get some because they were asleep in there, or you would go to this item because it was such a treasure to you. If we can help them find something that they care that passionately about, and then help them link that to the behaviors that they want to establish, they'll be much more successful. And so my certification program, we go through practitioners how to use this 15-step process to be much more effective with helping clients themselves and their family members create new desirable habits and behaviors.
Yes, I'm a big believer in lifestyle habits. As my life changed 2013, and I wrote a book, Life is Not a Race, about it, because I was trying to do everything and be, Wonder Woman, and thought, I can fit more into the day, the more a more successful person I would be. But, you pay for that, because that constant busyness and our need to feel successful by doing more is just so much of a part of our society. And that's why I think right now being forced to be at home and not going places is, a gift in this horrible worldwide experience, to be able to stop and slow down and reassess. How is your lifestyle? How are your habits? How is your relationship with food and what you're eating when you're eating?
I think I like to think of Marcus Aurelius, who tells us that if we can find the gift and the opportunity in our circumstances, we'll be much more successful.
Yes.
And I talk with my family that if we can learn and think deeply about what is it that we have to learn at this time, we'll be much more resilient. And so these are challenging times. One of the strategies that we as a family are intentionally doing is before we have a meal, we go around the table 6 feet apart. It's a very spread out table these days. And we talk about what I'm grateful for, and I try to find something new that day that I for, and I will comment and relate that to other people that were at supper with us, and that has been very, very helpful. And helpful for me is that yes, this is profoundly difficult time for many people. Um, but as a what I talk about, okay, what I want you to do is learn how to cook at home with what you've got. That we can use the same principles my mom taught me on the farm is you start with a recipe that you enjoy, then you put it in the freezer in your refrigerator or your garden, and you see what's on hand.
Yeah.
And you improvise with what you have on hand. And if you're missing an ingredient, okay, you're missing that ingredient. You can decide you want to substitute, put something else in, or not. And so my mom really taught me that ingredients are just and are and improvising as part of how I learned cooking growing up. So I'm very comfortable with that. And I'm trying to teach my tribe to be very comfortable with that, because that is our reality. If we can do that, we will find implementing the Wahls Protocol to be much more affordable, because I'm teaching you how to use all of your food without food waste. So there are skills that we may not have wanted to learn, but we could make the choice that, okay, I'm going to learn how to be more creative with my cooking. I'm going to learn how to cook at home.
And that's a good time too to talk about the basic of that Wahls protocol and maybe the updated version, because your book, and we'll put everything in the notes again, but your originally was to treat chronic autoimmune conditions using paleo principles. But I feel like, nowadays we all should be working on our immunity and building that resiliency.
Yeah,
So I would
absolutely.
apply your protocol to all of us right now, because I hope everyone is motivated to take care of their gut health. And that's by what they're eating, how they're eating, when they're eating it, and why.
When I first started out, I talked about our immune system, particularly NFKB, will probably have an impact. Am I going to be one of those people that ends up with cytokine or not? So I want my NF-kappa I want immune cells to not be overly reactive. Yeah, and to that end, having the Wahls diet will be very, very helpful. And the key principles are getting rid of the sugar, the processed foods, which is also really good for reducing your risk for cytokine storm, and eating more non-starchy vegetables, particularly green leafy vegetables. Although right now I would cook them more than having salads, because we have to treat the whole world like we're in a area where we could be getting terrible traveler's diarrhea. So I'd rather have my greens. And to have cabbage, mushroom family vegetables. That's again also very good at turning back that NF-kappa B. And deeply colored things, carrots, beets, berries. Berries, I'm happy having them out of my garden. If I was going to have fresh, I'd be a little nervous. Frozen, old frozens are probably fine, because that was last summer, so that's going to be okay. Then we want to be sure that you have plenty of omega-3s, because the signal to your immune cells, it's time to calm the inflammation and get back to normal, are special molecules called resolvins, and those are derived from omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. So nuts and seeds, and grass-fed meats, wild fish, flax oil, hemp oil, fish oil would be good sources for that.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the basic level. And I have a version for the vegetarian vegan, and I have a different version for the meat eater. And then at level 2, we go on to the paleo diet. I talk more about organ meat, about fermented foods, about seaweed, about soaking your nuts and seeds. Level 3 is lower carb still, and that's a ketogenic. I've become much more restrictive about for whom I'm recommending ketosis. That would be for people who are having seizure disorder that we can't get control of. So that's the people that we've been using ketogenic diets the longest. There's also evidence that we've been using it successfully, particularly for brain cancer and during cancer treatments. It's been very helpful there. And there's research using ketogenic diets for things like cognitive decline, some mental health issues, other neurologic problems. There are a few studies in the setting of MS. It's being studied now for diabetes. I do want to make clear in COVID, what I'm reading in the space, the functional medicine space, is that this a prolonged fast or ketogenic diet puts more strain on our ability to fight viral infections. It may make us more vulnerable to the COVID. So I will put that on.
So why is that? Why is it more, is it just additional? Because we're already stressed. So if we do extended fasting or do too low of carbohydrate, that it's, your body's already stressed out, that thinks that's a threat?
Your body's stressed. Mm-hmm. So the benefit of, well, let me sort of step back. Our ancestral mothers and fathers for 2.5 million years were clearly hunting, gathering, and the men were out hunting, doing physical activity that put them into ketosis. They depleted their glycogen 2 hours into their day. And so they're in ketosis. The women, the ancestral mothers, were maybe, but probably in ketosis on the basis of physical activity as well, from their efforts doing the gathering and then coming back and preparing the food. It's possible the women could have been eating while they were doing this work. We don't really know. If they were eating, it would not have been calorie-dense food. Then they do their cooking. We've only been cooking for about 200,000 years, so pretty recent phenomena. So we're a couple of days of fed state, resting, and so we're recovering the hormetic stress of physical activity, depletion. That time where our cells are replenishing, repairing, rebuilding, we run out, repeat the cycle. So ancestral mothers and fathers have a metabolic the fed state. Now, when we're in winter, we're in the fed diet or not fed and living off of. During the summer, we had probably a moderate carb diet and moderate protein diet. And we fluctuated back and forth. We, of course, have longer periods of ketosis during war, famine, drought, and winter. And 100 years ago, the physicians at the Mayo Clinic discovered a ketogenic diet to be a very effective strategy for treating epilepsy. And since the last 100 years, science has been using ketogenic diets for a variety of conditions. I can't find any society that is in ketosis year-round for the rest of their lives, nor can I find any society that are carnivore diets year-round for the rest of their lives. There are some societies that have much higher fat diets. The Inuit in the north have a very high fat diet, but they can't get into ketosis because of a genetic variation, which is pretty interesting. And even during the summer, they will have some carbs in their diet. There are societies that have higher meat diets, higher carb diets. But so what I'm the most comfortable with now is recommending metabolic switching, where we go from a ketogenic period state, protein or higher in carbs, depending on the person's spiritual need, their clinical. Because mild stress is really good for us. Intermittent followed by a recovery period, great for us. Moderate stress, still somewhat natural. Moderate to severe stress, not beneficial and harmful. And so the concern is I should put that, intermittent calorie restriction is probably too severe a stress when we're risking the possibility of having to face the COVID virus, because that's such greater virulence than most organisms that we face. I'm having some debates with my clinicians. I told them very strongly I did not want the patients in ketosis during this time. They would like patients in. In the interest of doing no harm, I don't have any data that tells me I can safely put people in ketosis.
Is that
Now,
meaning
there may be clinical reasons why I would right now. If someone has a seizure disorder, yes, I ketosis. If they're undergoing their cancer chemotherapy now, I would do ketosis because they'll have fewer side effects. And so I would look at it patient by patient. But I think for the general public, I know ketosis is a very popular strategy for weight loss right now. I discourage that at this time. That can be revisited when things are less troublesome.
Well, would you still say that we're burning fat and our goal is to balance our blood sugar? And even if maybe people are measuring ketones of their 0.1 to 1.0, that's not a stress, or is that just strict nutritional ketosis like the 3.0 to?
So the answer is we do not know. The real answer is we do not know. Most of us, if we stop eating at 6, will enter some level of ketosis by morning. And so that's probably physiologic. That's okay. And what I think I have great confidence in saying is a safer approach is a moderate carb, low glycemic index diet and eating. I don't want people to be stressing their immune cells at this time. Now, people can decide that I don't know what I'm talking about and they would like to experiment. Obviously, we get to make our own choices about what we think works best for us. But it's a public health measure. My advice is no sugar, no refined carbs, non-starchy vegetables, a good source of protein, plenty of omega-3 fats, plenty of probiotic foods such as sauerkraut, kimchi. And I would not do water fast, periodic fast, calorie restrictions at this time, but that would just be
it seems
naturally too much stress.
Well, that seems as my intuition tells me that's not a good thing to do. But I think some people think, oh, I'm home, I might as well do a water fast.
Yeah, people are reaching out to me. I'm home now, and they were about what level of ketosis is fine. There's a lot we don't know about this coronavirus, and so I read a lot every day, and I learn. And yeah, I think that's all that we can do.
So I know you talk a lot in the Wahls Protocol about the microbiome, and you talked about, feeding just what foods to eat feeds our microbiome. But I would think, learning what we do know about the immune system is 80% in our gut, and improving our, secretory IgA and your IgG, and what we can do to increase that microbiome diversity and the mucosal barrier just is so essential, I would think, right now for us.
You certainly want to have a healthy gut. The gut does a lot for immune cells that are reactive and calming in terms of that immune response. And so having a nice balance of T regulatory cells that help calm our immune cells back down is very helpful. And, to that end, it's pretty hard for anyone to go to the lab right now, but we could check our microbiome pretty much every day, hopefully. When you have a bowel movement, stand up, turn around, take a look at it. And if we're able to pass it comfortably, easily, that's probably in a pretty healthy state. If you were constipated, so it was hard, dry, like rocks or a dry log, then I want you to have more non-starchy fiber. And normally I would tell you to have more raw vegetables and salads. Now I'm going to tell you to have more sauerkraut and kimchi, and perhaps more fibers such as inulin would be a good choice there. The folks who are carnivores are very different. We have one study that have looked at their microbiome. Not sure how that. We just don't know enough about the microbiome in carnivore diet, or the impact of the carnivore diet on their immune.
Mm-hmm. I just did an interview with Corey from Ancestral Supplements and talking about all their supplements with, eating liver and heart and different parts of the animal from New Zealand.
I think organ meats are very important. Bone broth, very important. I did convince the carnivore community to back off on their liver recommendations. They wanted people to have a pound of liver a week. And I said, well, that's far over the upper limit of normal or the upper limit for retinol. And if chronically you have too much retinol, you can end up with scarring of the liver and the lungs. Won't kill you acute. It can lead to cirrhosis and pulmonary fibrosis that is very difficult to treat. However, I do want to stress that retinol for immune cell function to protect us from those. So in fact, I am putting messages out to my tribe, please eat liver once a week. And on my Instagram, I showed one of our most delicious ways of making liver, and that is to bake it very slowly with a layer of bacon across the top. And so my daughter's here with me. I'm so pleased to say my here. So we had this, and they were like, so delicious. This is, it is in, I mean, it takes a long time to make. It's about 90 minutes. You bake it mouth. It is I'm salivating now just because of the most delicious meals that you can.
I don't know about that. I'll take that I started taking the capsules that we actually got at Nutritional Therapy Conference that have liver and kelp in it, but I don't know if I can eat liver, the real thing.
Oh, I bet the baked liver, you didn't know what it was.
Yeah, don't tell me.
Probably
That's
say
a
like,
secret.
oh my God, this is incredible. Friends, for friends, and after it was delicious, then sometimes Zeb would tell them they had, sometimes not. So actually, both my kids and their high school friends have had our liver, and they have found it to be delicious.
So I know we're running out of time already, but the other research that I've been fascinated by, and you and many other people spoke about it at the Nutritional Therapy Conference, is the mitochondria and the importance of inflammation in mitochondria and just chronic fatigue and everything. So I just finished Dr. Lee No's book on mitochondria, and I've just been researching a lot on our whole health with the mitochondria. So what are your findings and suggestions how to optimize our mitochondria function, especially now?
Yeah, the mitochondria are really the powerhouse, convert the food we eat into the chemical energy we will need to drive the biochemistry of life. They are ancient bacteria, about 1.5 billion years ago, that were engulfed by bigger bacteria that would, over billions of years, evolve into us, and are critical for the energy for all of our various tissues. The parts of my body that need the most energy will have the most mitochondria per cell. So that's the brain, the heart, the retina, for example. If mitochondria are poisoned, and remember, ancient bacteria, antibiotics can make they can be poisoned, but many of the pesticides, herbicides are actually biologic warfare, derivatives from World War I, and they poison some of the enzymes effectively. Nutritional depletion can poison the mitochondria. Some of our drugs, like birth control pills, blood pressure pills, diuretics, will make the mitochondria less efficient.
Yeah, antidepressants too,
So,
right? Or anxiety. I had someone that was on
right. Those will
liver
make the
damage.
the depletion will do that. If zinc, magnesium, sulfur, that will be a problem. If you are low in B vitamins, coenzyme Q, that is a problem. And many of these medications slowly deplete us from these nutrients. Plus, if you're having the standard American diet, you're likely don't have much reserve. And particularly now as we're facing this COVID crisis, our nutritional reserve is so important. You know, could I have another comment about this? That
Yes.
since recorded history, humans have had pandemics. We have epidemics that come along, and our early ancestors figured out that distancing and quarantine were helpful in stopping epidemics. And then the next major invention was soap. Soap and water and hand washing and distancing was very powerful. And again, these ancient physicians all observed that the healthier the person was, the more likely they were to survive in these epidemic times. We will always have epidemics. We're always going to have pandemics because the microbes will have random mutations that make them more virulent, and they will kill us off. And no matter how good science becomes, the microbes will always have, they will eventually have a random mutation that makes them more virulent. And we will have to figure out how to deal with that. Always social distancing, isolation, open water will be the first defense. And the other basic defense that we all have to, and our grandchildren, our great will be the same defense, which is taking as good a care of yourself as you can so you can have the best health. This be our best tool in dealing.
Yeah. I've been trying to, post what I can each day on just simple tips of, going to bed by 10 p.m. How much did you walk today? Did you get out when the sun was coming up? And I think, I worry about everyone just starting to be on their computers as our Wi-Fi is kind of low today because everyone's watching TV or on their electronic devices, on social media, and staying up later and drinking alcohol every night. I just feel this need to help create awareness of, let's do yoga. I'm doing a yoga challenge this month. Let's try, getting some 30 minutes of exercise, and just, it's
hard. Nature doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
The evolutionary principles are the fitter that survive, the less will be. So those who do a job of care will come through this more probably.
Yeah.
What is helpful though is you're out there giving this message. I'm giving this message. In months of the public, in fact, is much more interested in diet like we had before. We're much more interested in a supplement to improve our nutrition than we ever were before. We're mindful science find solution. We may eventually, and we certainly need our scientists, and I want to support them as we're trying to navigate this. But there'll be a lot of benefit for everyone trying to do all that we can for our self-care.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's kind of my mission right now, is to help create awareness of simple, free things that you can do for self-care. And I thought everything you spoke about at the conference in February, right on the beginning of all this was happening, it just applies, a lot of it applies right now for what we can do to help ourselves.
I'd wondered if I should go to that conference, all this, whether it was prudent to come. But I also did not want to not up. So obviously I came, and fortunately, I got there, got home, and everything was fine. Then I went to the 10 women's basketball, and my wife and I sat up in the upper balcony away from people, but when our team played their game, we went down and sat with the crowd. And then I came home and had a severe headache for 3 days and felt miserable for those 3 days. And then I felt fine. So it was some viral infection that I had. There's no way for me to know what it was.
Yeah.
But I may have been part of the problem by traveling in early March to do the women's basketball tournament.
Yeah, well, that's what a lot of people are saying now is like, did I already have it? I didn't know that's, wasn't a label back then if it was December, January, February.
And, testing is so limited. The estimate that millions of Americans have it, that the best projection is that 50 to 90% of the globe will get this infection before it has burnt its way out. We don't know if we will get it every year. And so that this may be in some ways the new normal. There's a lot that we don't know yet. So the social is to slow care that will once you do get it, will you make it more likely that you'll have a milder case or more storm? And that is all self-care.
Yeah. Well, I'll put everything in the show notes links, and people can follow you mostly on social media. You're really great at posting stuff and finding.
A couple, I forgot to tell you, we have a new study that we're actually approved to do, but we're having to redesign the study as a virtual who have either remitting MS or syndrome within the last 12 months. We would follow you virtually with visits every 3 months and do a series of questionnaires. The intervention arm would be diet and lifestyle, essentially the Wahls Protocol. In the control arm would just get their care. Approval. So if you'll reach out to study team, MS Diet Study, healthcare.uiowa.edu, then you can let us know that you're interested. Once we have to give you more info on the study, what we have been approved to do.
Great. Well, I'll put that in links because I know we had bad connection today because everyone in the world is on Wi-Fi. So I appreciate everyone's patience, and we'll just kind of fill in the gaps where we can, but I'll put definitely all your information, and people can order your book online and get educated now on how they can take care of themselves with the Wahls Protocol. Because if you want to improve your immune health, your resiliency, and be empowered by wellness, I think this is the time to do it of any time. So thank you for keeping us all educated and all your hard work and hours spent keeping up on the research every day that comes out.
Thanks for listening to the Low Carb Athlete Podcast. If you have any questions, feedback, or topic suggestions, let us know on Facebook or at debbiepotts.net. You can help us to continue to grow by leaving a review on iTunes. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time